starting an art challenge! Woohoo! It's less of a challenge and more of a way for me to keep motivated and practice every day and not hate my art. I know. I'm not supposed to hate my art. Oh, everybody would tell you that, right? You're supposed to enjoy the process. It's just, I was actually doing a little spring cleaning of my older works and it actually got me motivated again. It was actually also in celebration of The Boys season 4 coming out that I wanted to draw our favorite psychopath, Billy Butcher. In my mind, there was this one specific scene. It's like him going, ah, or something like that. He's just so grumpy. He's so grumpy and so crazy. Then I actually saw on Instagram, there was this one picture, if you know, with him posing with Jeffrey Dean Morgan's character. And I was inspired to kind of like, just as a practice, do a little bit of our caricature of those two. And it's just all the colors are wrong and the outline is too thick and it's very frustrating when the image in your head doesn't match the art that comes out from your hands. Anyway, it never hits me more like a metric fuck-ton bag of bricks that if you don't use it, you lose it. I get that, but it still hurts, okay? It just hurts. You think that if you stop doing something for a while, maybe your growth would start back up on the last step that you were at, but you kind of fell down a couple of sets of stairs and now you kind of have to start from there. Not from the beginning, but still hurts. So this video will serve as much of a promise to myself as hopefully an entertaining watch for all you gremlins out there that somehow stumble on this video in the void that is YouTube. Enjoy the next 30 days of my progression and say hello to my future self for me. And now, magic editing stuff. For day 1, I wanted to try reviewing angles. Lots and lots of angles because I basically just draw always the same way, which is like the 45 degrees thing. So just a lot of isometric, simple object angles. I tried Cynic's Designs paper method, and then I tried to practice with some poses and also using the things that I learned on the faces here. Day 2 is poses, dynamic poses especially. Video I watched was Ethan Becker's and Saifuku's. Day 3 is more pose practice, and I wanted to change the camera angle and time lapse to see my progress here. A lot of work from references to understand perspective as well. Day 4 started with some poses and transferred to blocking and shading using the Asaro method. Day 5 I was out, so I did some gesture work on strangers at a cafe, then more poses when I got home. Day 6 I wasn't out, but feeling out of it as I descend into madness with poses that I'm very uncomfortable with. Day 7 I was feeling pretty good with the first pose, and so I thought, hey, let's play with high and low angle perspectives, and oh my god! Day 8, I needed a break from perspective and I wanted to draw for fun to get my sanity back up, so I used The Boys of Windbreaker as references. Day 9, my drawing hit point is back up, so I'm tackling perspective again with vanishing points. This is also a reminder to be patient with yourself when learning something new. Day 10, more perspective, more confusion. I got a little bit overwhelmed here and switched to pose practices, took a step back and reviewed some pointers on perspective and foreshortening to prepare for the next day. Day 11, I feel like things are going better. I like how the body shape is turning out with different angles, but it definitely feels like I'm still not using the perspective lines correctly. Something is not clicking yet, so the plan for tomorrow is to really nail down 3D shapes in space. Day 12, I'm very happy with how my simplified forms are turning out. The proportion studies is also helping my perspective work, and things to work on is being able to accurately tell the lines of action in the pose references, focusing more on simplified forms tomorrow while keeping that in mind. Day 13, more simplified forms, but with more complicated poses. I'm definitely feeling more confident in breaking parts down correctly and seeing things in angles easier. Day 14, starting off anatomy study. I was going to just focus on the head, but then surprisingly surprisingly, I was having a lot of fun learning the different types of parts and its names that I ended up continuing with more upper body. Day 15, more anatomy study of the upper body. This is for both the front and back of the body and understanding how the muscles wrap around the 3D shape. What helps is definitely figuring out the endpoints of each of the bone or muscle groupings. Day 16, start off with some pose practice combined with new anatomy knowledge from the past few days. I'm growing confidence in drawing the skull from memory and seeing how that affects face shape. Then doing more layering from skeletal form to muscles as a way to practice écorché. Day 17 is focusing more on the biceps and triceps, specifically their locations and where they originate and end. This gave me a lot more understanding of how the muscles flex and extend. Then I shift the focus to an overview of the lower body. Day 18, and did you guys know that what we think as our leg muscle actually connect a lot to our pelvic bone area, and probably what we think as lower back is actually hip and pelvic issues? Wow, the more you know. Anyway, I finished the rest of the lower body study today. Day 19 starts off with a sketch from a pose reference, then me filling in the écorché from memory on the figure. From there, I figured the most uncomfortable subject in need of reviewing is the torso muscles and where they are in space. Day 20, I attempted to make a full body écorché. Kind of burned myself out a little bit towards the end near the lower body because I was having trouble understanding the pelvic bone, so I decided to take a pause to relax my fingers and draw another pose and do a quick once-over of the muscle groups. Day 21 is doing more complicated poses using all the things that I learned so far. I'm taking more time because I'm really trying to be intentional on my lines and making sure they follow the bone and muscle correctly in these poses. Day 22, I started this challenge because of the boys, so I figured it'll be nice to do some sketch work using characters from the boys. This ended up being more detailed than I wanted, so now the next step for me is to understand how to simplify down a character while still maintaining those muscles and bone definition. Day 23, I tried to use all of the things I learned to redraw the original picture from that Instagram post I mentioned on the very first day. The initial attempt was definitely more of a cartoony version and colored, so I'm not trying to do a one-to-one here. This is more of a full round closure I wanted to have, and the clothes definitely is still a difficult thing for me to deal with, but that's for the next skill progress challenge. Day 24, back-to-back practicing with poses and floating heads. I'm noticing trouble with certain angles where I have to stop and think about how it should look in 3D space, so more practice on those angles should help with my mental 3D model. Overall though, I think it has improved. Day 25 is practicing with things that I enjoy. It's not going to be fun if I feel like this is a chore, so I wanted to see if I can draw Yamato from One Piece after a couple of reference pick poses. I draw her from scratch on the second page, applying what I learned from the poses and anatomy study. I drew the neck a little bit too far here and tried to correct it, but overall I like that my characters have muscle definition now instead of being scrawny twigs. Day 26 is doing some character design for my avatar and using what I learned to do poses from scratch, trying to also make sure my lines are not sketchy and more confident and intentional. Day 27, I just recently rewatched One Piece Film Red and want to draw Uta. I've also gotten into the One Piece card game recently. Anyone else? Here, I'm basically testing myself on full body sketches and keeping the character as consistent as possible. Day 28, Art Fight is here! This is probably going to be my motivation for practice in July, where the main topics will be clothing and character design. I was a little too stiff in the beginning here, but did start to relax after finishing the first character. Day 29, we do not talk about Season 4 Episode 6 of The Boys, but Yui is my inspiration of the day after watching it. My lines are cleaner today, still struggling a bit with consistency and processing what I actually see versus what I think I see. Day 30, meet Jin and Rami. Using all the things I learned from this 30-day art challenge to create this character for my very first art fight. I'll be speaking more of my experience following this day, so wait for the future me. Hello, Future Beck here, and that is a wrap for the 30 days challenge video. If you enjoyed that whole process, please hit that like button, comment below, and subscribe to my channel. I'm always trying to improve, and I would love to grow together with the community and be entertaining and share what I learn along the way. In this case, I'm going to be breaking this down into two categories, more from a physical aspect and one from a mental aspect. Starting from the technical aspect, 1. Oh my god, Jesus Christ. When all else fails, fails, draw your simplified shapes. Everyone is right about this. Draw it. Get used to making 3D shapes in space. 2. Use post references to break down those simplified forms. Why have your brain work that hard trying to imagine up something that you're not even sure if it's correct or not? You'll just end up drawing the same pose that you're comfortable with over and over again if you work with only what you know. Using post references will basically build up your mental library so you can use those things later on and you can imagine it better. 3. I wouldn't really touch perspective until you kind of understand body proportion a little bit more. I thought that perspective actually is not that I was trying to move too fast on what I learned and it's going all over the place. I really thought that perspective was going to help me draw better, right? Because moving from drawing simplified shapes in space, now if I really want to be accurate and draw those things, I would use perspective. But the thing is that if you don't really know body proportion, it's really kind of hard for me to end up drawing in especially extreme perspective. From here, I actually learn what foreshortening is, right? It's basically when you have some kind of really extreme camera angles like this. Now you have all this arm here. So how are you going to be drawing those kinds of things if you don't really understand how those kinds of body proportion works with one another, right? You can kind of guess, and so I think I do that with my drawings already, but it might hurt you in the long run when you're trying to practice accuracy to a certain point, right? You're just learning bad habits, so we might as well start from the foundation. And what I mean by foundation is basically anatomy study. Please don't run away yet. Don't run away, come back, please. It's really not as hard as you think. What I learned from my little perspective study the first couple of days was that I don't really know how the plane of a human body works when placed in those box shape in 3D space. If you're just making me draw the front, I can do torso just fine. The back, great. But then when you kind of have this 45-degree angle shape a little bit, I'm not really sure how my shoulder connects to my neck or my torso, to be honest. We have this little line here that I always see in figure drawings, but I feel like I'm just guessing at that point as to why it's there. I'm just like drawing it, right? And I wouldn't want to all of a sudden start learning bad habits and draw like one of those animes where you just kind of see that line. You know what I'm talking about. That line, no girl's pants is that low constantly. It would just fall. Like at that point, it's just a line going straight to your point is wrong. And learning anatomy helps that, okay? It helps. Even if you're trying to draw cartoons and it breaks all kinds of body proportion, but you need to know the foundation before you break the rules, right? Anyway, anatomy. Point 4. This tip really helped me. The muscle connection points and the skeletal connection points. What's the point of learning if you have a bicep here or tricep there if you don't really know where the bicep actually connects to your skeletal muscles? Because as long as you have the start and end point of each of the muscles and where they connect to your skeletal structure, you're going to know if your arm, for example, is in extension or flexion. You don't really want to draw bulbous forms of blobs, especially when you don't even really know where they are. Your guy is just gonna end up looking like someone straight out from Junji Ito's Gyo, and it's going to look crazy, alright? Not good. Also, once you know where the muscle is, you're going to be able to draw people in different angles a little bit better, right? You know that the bicep is going to be twisted always kind of in the front arm like this. So if you're drawing someone from the back and then you're twisted like this, you're not going to see your biceps up here, right? It's going to be your triceps instead. Which brings me to the most important thing that I learned, and that's the mental aspect of this challenge. Be firm in your vision, but flexible in your goal. What I mean by that is figure out what you want to improve on, but don't be committed to how you want to improve. Hear me out. I can be serious at times and feel like I need to plan everything to make the right optimal decision, but the plan I come up with is never really sustainable in the long run because it's what I think I need to do. Then it's always too focused that I'm bored with it, or too overwhelming that I just ended up burning out. For me, once I started drawing for the day, I start to see things that I want to improve. So then I jot down my thoughts about that day and figure out what I want to focus on tomorrow, taking it day by day. So the vision for me was to be able to draw characters in different angles and with the correct proportion. But my day-to-day goal was dependent upon what I wanted to improve on the day before. So it might be face angles, it might be hand, it might might be feet. When I break it down to something small and bite-sized like that, I know exactly where in which book or what video I want to search for to learn how to draw those things. In this way, you won't be stuck in tutorial hell or doom scrolling. You're just going to see all these amazing artists doing amazing things at their level, and you're just going to think that it's impossible and that their art is so much better than yours. And this comes from consuming so much and comparing them to what you only currently know, instead of consuming just enough for the specific project that you're trying to do. That's why I love project-based learning. Now, speaking of anatomy, yes, we're coming back to anatomy. I didn't think that I'm going to like anatomy that much, or I thought it was going to be too overwhelming for this 30-day challenge. I really wanted to keep it simple, but the thing is that as I take it day by day and starting to develop more of, I suppose, an intuition to see what I'm doing wrong and knowing also how to get there, I made the decision to want to learn anatomy. And then from learning anatomy, I find that it was also really fun doing what we call écorché work, where you start with the skeletal structure, then you start layering the muscle groups and then your skin and all of that jazz on top of it. It really clicked for me learning it this way, and it might not be for you. The main point is you want to try. You want to take it day by day, like I said, and just figure out what you think you need to do. You'll get there. You shouldn't just jump right in when someone just goes like, oh, but anatomy is important, so you have to start from the foundation, when maybe that will just drive you away from creating beautiful, beautiful work in the style that you want to do. So you want to start off with something that you really like, and then I think eventually you're going to find that the road that you're on is going to lead to foundational stuff that maybe people had advised you about it before, but you just weren't there yet, right? Your mindset wasn't there, and be ready to be receptive to that learning topic. So don't force yourself and take it easy. This is something to enjoy. Anyway, that's my 30 days. Let me know in the comments below if you want to see more of these challenges, or if you have one that you think would be really good to do. I think keeping these video logs is going to be great for me in the long run, because it allows me, or it forces me rather, to articulate the things that I like and don't like about my art, and then make a game plan about it, versus usually when I draw something and not having to articulate it out, you're just all up in your head and it just kind of drive yourself crazy and chaos and all of that, right? So sometimes you need to be out of your mind, but in a good way. Till next time.